But let's just sort of turn our attention back to the rugby, really, and talk about it in the terms of the experience of you three. You know how it feels to get knocked out of major tournaments wearing the England shirt. What will be the emotion in that England dressing room right now from the experiences that you three have had?
Well, I think losing any final, let alone the World Cup final, they must be absolutely devastated. They went into the game today as, I think we all agree, they went in as favourites after the performance last week. But to lose the game, I mean, it must just be awful. I remember losing a final to Manchester United. You just want to go and hide. So, I mean, double what these lads are feeling, because it's the World Cup final on a global scale.
I think to add to that, I think embarrassment comes into it. Not even just about the way you perform. It's just it's the biggest stage. All eyes are on you. They went into this as favourites. They demolished the All Blacks. The hysteria that surrounded that game added to the pressure, and I thought mentally going to this game was going to be one of the key factors. That can they go from being the team that were actually not underdogs, but just they weren't the favoured team in the semis, to being the team that were undeniably going to be the favourites in the final. And it's a big shift in mental kind of strength in the way you prepare for a game. And yeah, after the game, they were a little bit subdued in their celebrations. When you thought actually they seem like they're ready, they're really focused in and honed in on the final and what they're here to do. But the final didn't pan out like that, and embarrassment definitely coming back to the people that expected them to win is hard. But listen, they were a great bunch of guys that gave us some great moments during this World Cup, and we can't forget that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think, they should be proud for getting to the final. Like, really, the feeling there, I always felt like an emptiness, like being told you've got to leave a party before, when you're just getting going. But when it's at World Cups and that journey home, which is the longest, most horrible journey ever, and we're all disappointed. We watched it, and I just feel gutted for them lads, because South Africa were just a better team on the day.
And it's such a big deal in these situations because, all your family fly out. Do you get a sense when you're abroad and you're so ensconced in tournament life and you're staying in the hotel, do you get a sense of how much the country are talking about and thinking about?
It's different now. We played in the archaic years.
Pre-social media.
Pre-social media, so it wasn't, we didn't get to see it as much. You could just have to turn off your TV screen, don't turn it on, and you missed it all. Whereas now it's on your phone. Every time you pick up your phone, there's social media notifications coming through, etc. Family talking about it, and so you're definitely much more aware, I think, now. Yeah. It's difficult to miss it, whereas we'd go away for a tournament for 4 weeks and you just shut off completely if you wanted to. And I never put the TV on. I didn't read the papers during the tournament because I didn't want to be swayed. And it's not till I look forward to retiring at times to become a part of the fan culture that comes with a tournament. So, and it is very different. But but everyone's different. I didn't like to see stuff. These guys might be different. I don't know.
Oh, I was the same. I was never interested in what people wrote or what I was reading about. I was just, you just concentrate on what you have to do. You concentrate on your teammates and the training sessions, and you were fully locked away in the hotel, so you were always fine to it all. But of course, the further you get in the tournament, like the England lads done, it does ramp up a bit, and everybody was clamouring to get to Japan, weren't they? And I think that adds a little bit of pressure more to them.
I think it's different. It's definitely different for the lads now because they can't get away from. There's no hiding this every time they turn their phone on, anything like that. I mean, I love the tournaments. For me, I love the bubble you was in. I watched every game. 3 games a day. There was the pool table.
It's a dream.
I was a table tennis champion.
You was good at table tennis.
Pool table tennis champion.
I just absolutely loved it. I was just a cup of tea in front of the telly, just watching all the other teams.
No responsibilities.
No responsibilities, nothing.
Just football.
Just football. It was like I would love to do it again.
And in terms of inquests, when do they happen? You all experienced going out of tournaments with things like when David Beckham got his red card, when Wayne Rooney got his red card, sort of controversial departures from tournaments. Did you have immediate inquests? Did you talk about it on the plane home? Did you not speak to each other for weeks after?
I don't think you don't ever realise how big the situation is.
Right.
While you're there, because you are in that bubble. Like, for instance, the Beck situation, everyone knew it was like, wow, that weren't good, that is. Wow,
I can't remember having an inquest though. I think we all just went home, didn't we? And then the next time you meet up, the next time you meet up, you mightn't be there or you might be injured. So I don't think an inquest really happens.
It's not like club football, is it? It's like you don't see each other. Like squads can completely change from month to month, and it's whether the manager. I don't ever remember a big inquest from the gaffer saying this is what we've done wrong. Let's try and fix
that
it.
might
It
have
was
been
just,
one of our problems.
yeah, no. But I'm saying there was loads of problems, absolutely loads of problems. But yeah, that's certainly
It was
now.
always a case of you lose, the next day you're packing your clothes and you're going home because you've been
Yeah.
together for 6 weeks. You sort of finish and then you're just gone, and everybody's just gone on holiday then, or away with their own family because you haven't been together for a long time. So there's never really a formal inquest in what went wrong and how we lost the game and why you lost the game.
And like I know that from people I know Gareth, after the World Cup, there was a proper inquest. Everything was from the moment they arrived to the moment they finished, and then they try and improve on that now. So maybe we're going in the right direction. There should be.
I mean, to me, it seems mad that you've been knocked out of tournaments, and 2 weeks later, for example, you haven't had a phone call from the England manager and the senior leaders and said, right, we're all meeting up, we're getting together at this hotel in 2 weeks.
Joe's alluding to there. Joe's saying that this regime's a bit different. I mean, from our regime was very much like that game's gone. It's a new regime now. A new manager's come in. Let's just move on. Forget what's happened in the past. A few mistakes made. Let's go on to what we're doing. Whereas now it's an inquest. It is a debrief. They're going through every single layer of what's gone wrong, what was positive, what was negative. So, and that, I think that can only bode well for the future.
Sometimes you don't need an inquest. For instance, when we lost in the semi-finals on penalties in '96, you don't have an inquest afterwards. You're not going to sift through it all and say we lost because of this. We lost because of a penalty miss or whatever the case may be. So sometimes it's a case of well done, everybody. Go and have a hard-earned rest, because people have had full Premier League seasons, then into a tournament football. Sometimes everybody just wants to get away from the ball, get away from everybody else, and go and have some solitude somewhere.
I wonder whether the sort of opinion of footballers has changed a bit, and that perhaps 20 years ago there would be an inquest, but the inquest would be the manager and the coaches together, whereas now they've realised you need to involve the players in this. Let's treat these players like adults, and if there is going to be an inquest, let them lead it almost.
I think we can take a leaf out of the book from the rugby game, because the way they do it, they're very involved. They allow the players, they delegate, they allow the players to manage, to coach at times, to scrutinise situations and analyse situations and have a debrief together.
Have their own meetings.
And have their own meetings.
Like
that. And that never happened in our time when we played at all, really. But they're very inclusive in the way that they make decisions for positive reasons and negative reasons. And I think that's something we could definitely learn from them.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. When you give players ownership of the situation they're going, if we'd have had a big conversation with the players that we had, and the issues may have been then brought to the surface, and then maybe it's the manager's decision at the end of the day. He'll go, we're doing this or we're doing that. But what's wrong with having a discussion? What's wrong with the players airing their views, but in a comfortable place? But it always felt a bit uncomfortable with England. Like there was messages. I felt people were giving messages in the media when a straight face-to-face conversation would have been more effective.
Is that right?
Name names.
No, I'm not saying names.
That's a bombshell, Joe.
Yeah.
So you think players were telling the media what the issues were within the England camp rather than airing it to the people that needed to hear it?
It was happening, and then, it was all very bitty when I felt it should be like it is now. I think we're closer to a unit now where, Gareth's got the lads playing well, everyone seems to be together, and all the players seem to buy into what they want to do. I think maybe in our era it was all a bit haphazard, and hence we didn't end up finally getting over and winning something. But
what do you, because Rio's had this conversation previously with Frank and Stephen, I'm interested to hear from you, because you've said already there was loads and loads of problems. When you look back on your England career, and an England career that ended without a trophy or a medal, what do you put that down to primarily?
I wouldn't want to name
do you have to name
managers
names?
or anything like
No.
that, but I think we was too stifled in the way we played tactically. Right. I felt there wasn't enough, for instance, the fact that Paul Scholes played on left midfield and retired at 29, probably one of our most talented players of all time, shows that should never have happened. I'm glad it happened, because I wouldn't have got 56 England caps without him, because he was so good. But he went on to play for another 10, 11 years, and then he ended up finishing in the pivot in front of the back four. So there's so much things that I don't think we was inventive enough tactically. I think we was too far behind the other countries tactically. The amount of times we played against teams for England, got popped off the pitch, and we're looking at the team sheet going, well, he plays in the second division in Cyprus. He plays, somewhere else. And I know these players around me are world-class players, and they just had a bit more tactical nous than us. I think during our era, I think we could have been a bit more flexible.
It sounds like you're saying the opposition were often sort of greater than the sum of their parts.
Yeah, and we wasn't.
And England were a collection of amazing individuals.
That's what happens now, really, isn't it? I mean, when we looked at...
How are you?
Hi, Mike.
With all respect, going back to the semi-final that we just lost against Croatia, when you looked at the two sets of teams, you looked at the England side and went, you know, we should win this game. You looked at the Croatian side and everyone was like, oh, Rakitic and Modric, but keep them quiet.
So is this still a problem?
We'll be all right. I think so. The way. I just think the other nations are technically better on the ball, probably have a little bit more freedom on the ball than we do.
Going back to that semi-final, I thought the tournament whole was great. There was a 30-minute spell in that semi-final where we couldn't get hold of the ball in the midfield. We didn't have no one. Like we talked about the likes of Maddison, Mount, Foden, Michael. Someone who can hold on to a ball in a real high-pressure situation, maybe win a foul, like what Modric was doing. And that, I think, that was the reason that cost us in that spell. Overall, 95%. The World Cup, I thought Gareth done a sterling job. I think just that little bit there, and again, then they'd have had a look at that, and they'll try and we've got to just trying to address that, and then we might go and win something.
I think it's the structure of the team. Then is the platform for the players to then have composure, or get the players who have got the composure to go and play and have moments in games where you take the sting out of a game. I don't think we've got the ability right now to take the sting out of a game against the top teams. Right. Against the minnows, we can do that and we look good at that. But against the top teams, I don't see where we go for 30 minutes, right, let's take the sting out of this, and we just have a session of just playing keep ball almost with this team, trying to get a shot or a goal at the end of it. And I think that's the difference. And tactically, we don't have the rotation that the likes of even the Croatian team in that semi-final that they have, where players are just popping up in positions and you go, wow, he's a holding midfielder, but he's just somewhere else on the pitch to suit the team at that moment in time.
So quite a lot to think about and still work on ahead of 2020.
Absolutely. I don't think it's all doom and gloom though. I think we're taking great strides
I'm very
forward.
positive. I'm massively. I think they're going to do something. This England team. I think I've seen slight improvements. A little dip, wasn't it, the other day? But I'm well. I think we're on.
I think as long as you keep improving, take something from this particular tournament and move forward. Yeah. The players we've got, I think, unquestionably are talented enough, aren't we? But you will come against a resurgent Spanish team or a resurgent Dutch team, and on the day you do need a little bit of luck as well, to get over the line sometimes. But other nations are improving as well, so we have to keep on improving.
And finally, despite the issues, you still reflect on an England career with immense pride. The fact you pulled on an England shirt, I guess you dreamt as a little boy putting on that England.
We talked earlier with the lads. Like I said, I remember because I didn't come from a real footballing home, at the 1990 World Cup, watching Gaza on a little screen, because we was getting a bit of decorating done. It was only about 7 inches by 7 inches. Watching it, and I remember watching it, falling in love with football, falling in love with that England team, falling in love with Gaza, and thinking all I want to do is play for England. So England's got a strong pull in my heart.